All right, so we're talking about package deployment model, right? So there we have it. Um, Side by side. Okay, guys on top, this is called the project deployment model. You can tell that apart. You can tell the two apart very easily. One is the icon. Look at that colorful icon, right? Somebody at Microsoft woke up somewhere around 2012 and go, we don't want any colors. We want everything black and white. Okay, so like Visual Studio 2013 is all black and white. Fantastic. I suspect by 2015, the new version will have color again. Like, cause I think because Apple is suing everybody who uses color, so Microsoft decided to go black and white. And then I think Apple is about to sue them for black and white again. So then Microsoft will use color again. All right, so any case, ooh, new age stuff. So we got black and white stuff. So that's project, right? I can't really tell what the icon looks like. I think it's a crab holding up a piece of document, right? It's like a crab, and it's an eye holding up a piece of document. I think that's what it looks like. All right, so here's a project with their project parameter. You only see that at project mode. You don't see that in package deployment model. You also don't see the connection manager. Good time to clarify a few things. If you look at a package, ever wonder why are there so many connection managers all over the place? It's because these are referencing your project definition. Now, this connection manager is everything your package depends on. So for this particular package, whether it's insert employee, update employee, or delete employees, they're using various data sources. And they, because of the parenthesis, it tells you they are project level connection manager. So if you think along the line, if you think along the line where you have, I don't know, 10, 12 packages over here. Now you don't want to go into each package to say, hey, this is where the staging server is. Notice everything's local host right now. Okay, so let's say you want to go into QA, the machine is no longer your own. It's no longer talking to localhost. By having a project connection manager, it's much easier to make changes. You can open this guy up. You can change the machine name. Let's say that's your QA server, right? Bam. That's it. That's all you need to do. Change it in project. The next time you run it, the information gets shared with all the package that depends on it. It's fantastic. Gonna close all. Too many things open. Let's say I want to open up load internet sales. Cool. Notice as far as the package is concerned, I still depend on the local staging. Okay, there's no change to that. But in its configuration, it has a different server name now. So you change one place, all the package now benefits from that change. All right. So on the server side, right? On the server side, your integration service now has its own home. It used to, yes, go ahead. Any questions? Correct. Now, one way you can do, by the way, that I haven't show you is what you can do is you can set up a project parameter that sets up a server name. And here I'm going to start with localhost. And notice these connection manager, they are actual objects too. Okay. 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 So these are actual connection managers too. You could actually assign value to this through project parameters. So for the configurations, connection manager. Okay. So the idea is that once you deploy this package, right, once you deploy this project to the server, you can use variables to assign those server values instead of hard coding it there. So I know. Let's get these deployed so you can see how that works. Cool. Now before we can actually deploy this stuff, we must have our catalog first. So because the catalog is a dedicated storage area, it's not part of your MSDB. Okay, it used to be when you use package deployment models, everything is stored inside of MSDB. Not a good place. Okay. We used to stick packages as tables. Okay. In MSDB in package deployment model. Now in project deployment model, now we have something called IS catalog. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to have to create a quick password here. Alright, so once the package catalog is created, we create various folders to organize things. So let me create a quick folder called demo. Alright. Now, that's pretty much what you need to do on the server side. It's ready to receive what you want to deploy. Now, you can either deploy and push it straight out of the Visual Studio yourself, or you can build this project into a single file. So notice when I right click and I build this guy, it gives me an IS pack that I can attach that through an email probably, but most likely in the real environment you will simply check in your source code and you should kick off an automatic build, and this automated build process will turn your project into an IS pack. And then from the Team Foundation side, you might have a deployment script, or you may use a release management to carry that IS pack and deploy them to the SQL Server, so everything's automated. There is a release management functionality and also a deployment script that you can use in Visual Studio. Alright, so the interface between you and the DBA typically is that one file called the IS pack. Unless you happen to also be the guy who manages the server, then by all means you can simply right click and deploy. Okay, but if you're not, most likely you will build this IS pack, attach them as an email, and whoever receives them can double click on it. Now we are behaving as we're acting as a DBA now. We receive this file. Let me say next. Select the integration service project that you want to deploy. So this tool lets you deploy an IS pack, and it also allows you to deploy from server to the next server. Okay, so I don't have any project on my server right now, so it will not have any package for me to deploy. So let me deploy something first. So I'm going to deploy from the project file. Okay, so that's the IS pack we talked about. And it's going to make sure the package is all good. Where do you want to deploy to? it must be a SQL instance that has SSIS catalog. Okay, that's that. We're going to stick them under the demo folder. Boom. All right, so that looks good. Do a quick deploy. Bam. All right, so it's all good. Now, once it's deployed, now we have all the good things that's available to us now, such as creating an environment. So let's start with creating a couple of environments. I'm going to create one environment called test. And another environment for production. So these are the environment where I can configure variables that I can substitute when I run the package. Okay, so double click on that. This little error message makes me feel bad, so I'm going to close that. So double click on test. Feel bad about error messages. So here is variables you can specify, such as DB server. So here is a variable that I can use. Okay, so what data type is it? It's going to be a string, and the value is going to be Miami SQL, right? Cool. And let's use another variable called folder path. This would be the folder where we pick up these CSV file to import payment information, if you remember from earlier this week. All right, so here is the location. Let's say demo files / mod 12 production. Oops, actually this is the test environment, so I'm going to put test. All right, so these two variables, obviously I will have Miami SQL test, Miami SQL production, and so on. Just going to click OK there. So now I have one environment with two variables. And the next is the production. I'm going to do the same exact thing. And notice there's also permissions. You can specify who gets to use these environment data. So it's pretty cool. DB server string and Miami SQL and folder path. Okay, I get it. Mod 12 production. Very cool. All right, so now I have these environments set up. Well, in good shape, right? Very cool. So let's go to the project and let's configure our project. So notice I am at the project level, not at individual package level. I'm at a project level. And I want to say, hey, you will reference the production environment, and you will also reference the test environment. Cool. Now also notice there is a whole section dedicated to connection manager, where you can specify your connection strings. Okay. Very well. All right. So notice the first drop-down box on this page is what is your scope for all packages and project. So you can configure for once every single package and the entire project, the connection manager and the parameters. Okay. Or you can specify the parameter just for a single package, so you're not losing anything compared to the package deployment model. So in other words, you can, if this one package depends on a particular variable, you can connect directly this way. Okay. So this configures at the project level. So you can see the connection manager, container, deployment model, entry point, and the project. So you can see all of the stuff here, container. In this case, this is all of them. Okay. All right. So this is a scope where it shows you the container you're able to connect those environment variables with. Fantastic. All right. So let's start with the deployment demo container. Our project requires a variable called output folder. While the output folder is fairly straightforward when it's running on our system, right? We have an output folder and we know where things are. When we run everything in our Visual Studio in our local environment, things are easy, right? D drive. But on the server, the value is going to change according to the server's file system. So I'm going to do a configure. Oops, I forgot to save that change at least. And another one. Cool. And go to parameter, and output folder will be connected to environment variable folder path. Very cool. So this is how you can connect the environment values to the project configuration. All right. Now for connection manager, let's look at deployment. Let's look at the project level. We have one connection manager, right? Cool. All right. So we have one connection manager, and we have a server name that we can change from localhost also to the environment variable. So if you change here, it will apply to all the packages by the time you need to run this package in different environment. Okay, so this goes back to the original questions. How do we change it one place and make it dynamic? All right, so click on OK there. Fantastic. Any questions? It's a good time to see if anyone have any questions here. Environment. Now you only have this feature if you're using project deployment model. Let me know if you have any questions, folks. Anyone? Yes, the SSIS DB has its own set of permissions. Each project is considered a securable. So by default, only the DBO user of the SSIS DB of the catalog have access to it. And you can choose the various roles at SQL Server level. There you go. And the permission you can grant is read, modify, execute, and manage permission. Okay. So you can grant login or roles. So these are SQL users. And these are set of permissions at project by project level. Okay. Very cool. Let's just give data reader. So just create a Bob here. Okay. I need to figure out where to create these accounts. I was under the impression the account comes from here, but when I bring up the dialog, I didn't see Bob. Shocking. All right, so work student, retention period. I need to find out where the database, which database all the roles and user been mapped to. It's not here. Okay, I'm gonna do a secret research during break to find out where to define these users and roles, but it's certainly definable. Okay, and once you configure these, let's just get this going. So right click on any package, you can execute these packages interactively. Okay, and it will say, wait a minute, you want to run this package, but stuff is not configured. So you're going to choose which environment you want to use. Now, if you have lots of parameters, by choosing the environment, it will supply the right value. Okay, including connection manager, including any other stuff, even stuff that you did not expose. You can just write down the path. Remember, your package is an XML file. Every attribute can be identified hierarchically. So you could supply the value right there. All right, so in any case, this runs, and there is a report called SSIS, because in a busy SSIS, you're going to have a lot of things going on at the same time. Okay, you can right-click on SSIS DB and take a quick look at active operations, or you can use the standard report called Integration Services Dashboard, which tells you all the execution history. Okay, folks, earlier this week we had a question, right? How do we keep track of all the executions? Well, you don't track them in Visual Studio because that's your development environment. You track them here. This is your execution environment. So you can go back an entire year worth of execution. Okay, and their outcomes too. You can do a quick overview on the report. So, and again, you only get this level of reporting if you're doing project deployment model. So you can see the execution information. Each task, was it successful? What is the parameter used? Because I chose the production environment, it's going there. Okay. And so on. Who called the package? And if there's any message from the execution, okay. So it's just like you're running it, but not interactively. You can come back and find out what's going on. And you can go back using this icon here and get performance related information and so on. Alright, so it's pretty good. So it'll give you a chart for the duration of the past 10 successful executions. Alright, that is pretty cool. Folks, the time is 10:42. Let's take a 15-minute break and